Hello and welcome to the TMWC Activity Professional Academy. My name is Tim Anderson. I'm the activities consultant here in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, and today I'm here to talk about taking time each day to plan. Planning is probably one of the biggest parts of our activities job, whether it's planning as a department manager, whether it's planning the programs that are going to happen in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. Maybe it's planning how to make changes and fixes to your department so that you're following government and state regulations. And planning is one of the hardest things to make time for in a day. But the thing is, if we don't make time for it, then we lose out. If we don't make time for it, things don't get fixed, things don't change, things don't grow. Our department does not continue, it does not develop. So today I'm going to show you some of the things that I do to make planning a priority in my day-to-day work. I should emphasize that I'm not perfect, nor do I expect anybody else to be, but these are some of the things that I have found helpful to make sure that planning stays a focus. Schedule time for planning each day. This could be 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It doesn't really matter how long you set aside the time to plan, although it's true that there are going to be certain times where planning becomes a much larger focus. But on a day-to-day basis, 5, 10, 15 minutes here and there, or in one section of the day and then 15 minutes in another section of the day, actually does work and works very well. When you're scheduling time to do this, it's important to look at when are the times during your day when you are not necessarily focusing on initial assessments or preparing activities, things that you're not doing to prepare for either later that day or the next day. And if you find that you are having trouble finding times during your day, that means you probably have too many things going on in that day. You should always have at least 15 minutes to plan for the future. And I'm not talking about tomorrow, I'm talking about long term. The second thing that I like to do is organize my workspace so that it is conducive to focusing on the tasks that need to be done throughout the day, as well as a section of time for planning. For example, the very first thing that I do when I come in, now that I'm at a daycare center, the very first thing that I do is I get the schedule ready for the next day. On my desk, I have a folder that is specifically for that task. So in it, I have the roster for the next day. I have the calendar in there, which has all of my additions and changes on it and so forth, and a list of what the residents like to do, or in my case, the clients like to do. All of those things are put together so that I can focus on that task. And then that folder, once that task is done, it gets put away and set aside. I then have another folder on my desk, which is for projects. Projects that are things that are long-term projects that need certain things done for them on a given day. Another thing that's good to do is to schedule your to-do list. Lots of us have to-do lists that we use throughout our day, or we create more to-do lists. I like to actually do my to-do list on my Outlook Express. So not only do I put things on my to-do list, I actually give them a date and a time. So that way, everything that goes on my to-do list actually has a designated time to get done. So when I'm planning something or when I think of something that needs to be done, say this week, next week, whatever, I schedule it. I put it into its place so that it has a designated time to focus on it. Planning does not have to be this big thing. It can be done any second of the day. If you know you have to get something done later, schedule it. Don't just throw it on a list. Put it in a designated time and place. Now, you can move that time and place throughout the month, and I certainly have done that with my tasks and the things that need to be done, but it never leaves my brain. It's always on a designated scheduled time, so that way it gets done when it needs to. Another thing that you can do is to create a planning folder. Now, I mentioned earlier I have a folder that's specifically designed for projects that I'm working on. I also have a folder that is designated to projects for the future, things that I'm not necessarily thinking I'm going to get to, like even this year. If you know that there's going to be a party or an event or something for the following year, create a space for it. Put it in a folder marked next year. Because then when you start going through next year's stuff, you already have stuff planned ahead. It's also important that you need to schedule a time to reevaluate and clean house. Sometimes we plan to do something and then we decide later on, okay, this isn't going to work. For whatever reason, this project is not necessary anymore, or maybe I don't have what I need to complete this project, or maybe it's a matter of, you know what, I suggested it to the clients during monthly meeting or something, or a resident council, and it bombed. They didn't really like it. So you know what? This is going to be set aside into next year's planning, and I'm not going to focus on that anymore. It's important to remember that you want to have time to simply go through what is on your to-do list and decide what still needs to be there and what doesn't any longer. My last tip for incorporating planning into your day-to-day work is to end each day or take some time each day to plan for the next day. You can do this. You can look at your schedule every single day and evaluate, okay, what needs to get done tomorrow and what will I realistically get done tomorrow? So I hope some of these tips were helpful for you. Some of these tips are things I've come up with. Some of them are things I've found on Pinterest or on other YouTubers' videos. Please feel free to look around for more stuff. There's lots of different things. If you'd like, and you have a particular planning tip in mind that you'd like to share, feel free to post it in the comment box below there. Hit that red button to subscribe, maybe even hit the little bell for notifications. I usually post one of these once a month, and I look forward to seeing you next time.